This is Alessi. Alessi has quite possibly one of the strongest stand abilities in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, something I pointed out back when I made the JoJo stand tier list. Sethan, named after the Egyptian god of war Seth, is bound to Alessi's shadow, and anyone who steps inside of its boundaries begins to reverse in age. This directly affects the power of the user and their stand ability, as seen with Baby Silver Chariot having significantly decreased strength and speed. This ability is so powerful that it can revert any human from an adult back to being a fetus just based on the amount of time they spent standing in the shadow. And that got me thinking. There are tons of stand users in JoJo that are incompetent, so much so that it manages to balance out overpowered abilities. This isn't just specific to Hirohiko Araki's writing, but it is very common in manga, anime, movies, games, and so on and so forth. So we're going to discuss who the worst of the worst stand users are in the entire series. Characters that could easily resolve whatever issue or challenge was in front of them, however they were held back by having IQ in the double digits. I just wanted to point out who I thought was the worst from each single part of JoJo in whatever order I feel like, because this video is super subjective and I'm just going to be giving my opinion on why these stands could not be used to their fullest potential. And there really isn't a better place to start than Alessi, because he is an amalgamation of everything that makes for a terrible stand user. Terrible design? Check. Crappy personality? Double check. Wields an axe? Check, check, check. I mean, it's like he wants to be an Edelgard but ends up being an Arthur. Of the 9 glory gods and the assassins of Dio, it's arguable that his power could most easily dispatch the Stardust Crusaders. And it really could if he didn't act like a Discord mod searching for his kitten. In part 3, there is a dog, a bird, a baby, and an orangutan that are all more competent stand users.
Baby.
But I'm not gonna rag on part 3 all too much, because it was the beginning of stands, it's a new power system, you gotta break it in a little bit. But another thing that could make a stand user quote unquote the worst would be not even knowing that your stand is defeated, or having it indiscriminately target anything. Now sometimes the uncontrolled chaos and destruction can be beneficial to the goals of the user. Look no further than Chocolata's Green Day for a good example of that. But while you're still looking at part 5, Polpo really doesn't have a good leg to stand on, or any legs to stand on, considering he just sort of sits there and rolls into place.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
While Black Sabbath is really strong, the fact that Polpo doesn't even know what's going on with his stand makes him one of the worst users. And he killed the Mario! That is anti-Italian discrimination. But then, the stand itself, it fails pretty spectacularly in trying to kill Koichi and Giorno. That's not a diss to how cool the activation is through the ability with the lighter. It makes for a clever way of introducing your stand. But like a bird leaving the nest for the first time, or more appropriately, a kid entering a liberal arts degree, Polpo is a parent who doesn't care enough about his stand. Coincidentally, this is another shadow-based stand ability, so that's interesting, I guess. Now, Steel Ball Run is one of the greatest stories ever written, and it is leaps and bounds above much of the rest of JoJo, in no small part due to the expert way the story manages to naturally introduce its antagonists into the plot. It's one of those rare stories where every character seems to have a reasonable purpose, and even if a character is incompetent, he can somehow manage to overcome his weaknesses with the help of his stand or another character. And Magenta is one of those characters. His stand allows him to be immune to any attack ever at the cost of not letting him move. You have 20th century boy, the Shuckle of stands, an impervious defense, but terribly weak to water, which is exactly what happened to Magenta, because he ends up comatose at the bottom of a river, something not even best Dino Boy Diego can rescue him from. The stand itself was so powerful that it left the user trapped with no escape when he wasn't in the company of someone like Wikipepo who could make up for his weaknesses. Now, being comatose at the bottom of a river, that's pretty bad, but honestly, I can think of something worse. Losing your will to live if your stand doesn't do what you want it to do. This is George Lucas tier of writing, and I can only think of Ungalo from Stone Ocean's final act as being that individual. Bohemian Rhapsody isn't the best stand. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's kind of crappy, because the user can't prevent the targets from using its own ability. Bohemian Rhapsody allows any fictional character to be created, which on its own would be a pretty great power, but the strength and the creation can be directly proportional to the creativity of the artist, and unfortunately, Ungalo isn't the most rational or creative or insert any other normal human descriptors of characters. And that's why this whole conflict is resolved by inventing I Win Man. So Ungalo is such a terrible stand user that upon the realization that his stand is just deactivated, is no longer doing what he wants to do, he Padme's out of here and just yeets himself to death. So that means his entire character and the entire point was just a waste of time and a distraction from two other fights that are significantly more interesting at that part of the story. Now, part 8 has the Polpo problem if it were hit with a Requiem arrow after eating a new Lokakaka, because half of the stands in the entire part are automatic. I don't know if anyone's realized that. To me, when I realized that, that was just mind-blowing. However, most of the users remain competent enough to be able to use them and see when damage is reflected on the user and know when their stand is under attack. Sometimes a stand user can use their ability in a non-destructive or non-combat role. That makes for a competent user outside of battle, and I think Dr. Wu falls into that category. What makes him probably one of the worst stand users in JoJolion is the problem that he is constantly declaring, Dr. Wu never fails, and proceeds to just fail over and over and over again. He lost to full strength Wi-Fi and vectors. And even how he chooses to use his stand isn't the most creative or best way in a combat role. While his fragmentations can assist in a surgery setting, he chooses primarily to use them to increase his movement and take over people, but Hierophant Green and Kakyoin did that so much better and with more DPS output. But there is one stand user that is significantly worse than the rest of them. Objectively the worst. I'm not even joking. The rest of this list was kind of like me going here and there with characters I really don't like. This is a character I like, and I just can't defend him because he's so incompetent. This character has the ability to resolve so many problems that the main cast encounters. A JoBro that has been the butt of many jokes since the dawn of Diamond is Unbreakable. I know you guys know it. It's pretty obvious. Okuyasu Nijimura. Oi, Josuke, what does my stand do again? He has the ability to scrape objects from one plane of existence to another and transport them through space-time with the use of wormholes. Zahando is the ender of worlds and is easily one of the strongest stands in the series. Yet what holds this stand back from reaching its fullest potential is the massive amount of pure himbo energy that Okuyasu irradiates. All you have to think back to is the fight with Red Hot Chili Pepper, Adam Heartfather, and Killer Queen. Okuyasu could have single-handedly ended the entire plot of Part 4 by scraping away Sheer Heart Attack, or even scraping away the space between the Duane Gang and the retreating handless Kira. But whatever, Part 4 needs drama. Listen, I love Okuyasu. I love him so much. He's so stupid. He's so funny. But I cannot deny that he is probably the worst stand user in the entire series. So those were the worst stand users I could think of, but you might have a different opinion, so definitely leave that in the comments below. I'll be sure to read them and probably disagree, maybe agree with a few of them. I don't know. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on all notifications. Have a beautiful Duang, and I'll see you all next time.